If you didn't do it, still write it down. It will still help you. And if you made a mistake, just use a different color to add whatever you need to add. Okay? Paddle wheel boat operates on the Red River. It is propelled by a large wheel, surprise, surprise, that's sinusoidal, right? At the rear of the boat. The diameter of the paddle wheel is 6 feet. So just make a note, you read carefully. It doesn't say radius, it says the diameter. So we know it's from the top to the bottom there, right across. With 4 feet above the water and 2 feet below the water. What in the world is that saying? That is an interesting statement. Okay, let's highlight that different color. It takes 5 seconds to complete one revolution. Okay. Assume that P is the starting point. One thing I need you to remember is that the period, right? This is the period. And the period is going to help us with our X scale. Okay. And these, how high or above or below the water you are, that's going to give us our, what I call, maybe let's call it the Y scale. So you need to have what's happening vertically, what's happening horizontally. Think of it that way. And let's try to make our 3 lines like this. Maybe it's a better idea to do it below, but anyways, I'll just say this. We know that from here to here is 6 feet. Okay, that is something you need to make sure you keep in mind. That's 6 feet. So now the tricky part is to figure out what is this value, what is that value. Down here, it says 4 feet above the water, 2 feet below the water. So we know that this is -2. Okay, and then add 6 to it, it's 4. I feel like this gave you too much information, but hey, it's verified. Okay, we're going from -2 to 4, and this is the water line. Hey, look at my blue pen here. Imagine this is the water, but we're talking about the wheel, and the water is in the mix as well. What would be the height of the water in this case, respect to the wheel? Be 0, right? Water is 0 here. It's almost like our ground, water, below water. So keep that in mind. So we've got our Y scale figured out. Next, I will say this. Where do we start? They have to tell you where you start. Sometimes you start at 0. Sometimes you start 3 seconds after, 4 seconds after. It doesn't matter. We're told we start at the top. So it goes there, and then we're going to go to our middle, back to our low, back to the middle, right? And then high. So this is a one full cycle. We know that if this is 0, 4, let's skip all the other ones. What is this one going to be? We know that 5 seconds will go by for this to repeat. And here we go. Good to go? All right. So we happen to start at time 0 because they didn't tell us otherwise. We start at a high. And because we start at high, there's no other way to go down all the way to the lowest and then back up. One thing that you can know for sure actually is this would be 5, 4. It would take you 5 seconds to complete a full revolution. So this is 5. So if you want to think of it, is the low point will therefore be halfway, right? It'll take you 2.5 seconds to get to the low point. So that's one way of verifying that you're doing this right. What I will do here is I'll take my...
Pardon the interruption. On behalf of the admin team and members of the crisis response team,
just in case it's too sunny or rainy. There we go. So this is how much we're going up by every single time we jump a line. So this would be 1.25, 6. Nope, it's not 6. My bad. Did that on purpose. So we need to find the midline. So I'm going to do that here. Mid is 4 plus -2 divided by 2. Okay. So 4 minus 2, that's just 2, divided by 2 is 1. So we know that we're at 1, at a height of 1 above the water right here. And just check, it's 3 to the top, it's 3 to the bottom. It should be the same. If you don't see that, you got to go back. Okay. That's our amplitude, by the way. So this would be 1, this would be 2.5, negative 2. This would be adding 1.2, that'd be 3.75, 1, and 5, 4. So you've got your 5 points. It has to be in a consecutive cycle. Let me just do this for you, okay, real quick. It could be, let's say this example starts in the middle. They would have to listen carefully to this. If it ever starts in the middle, they have to tell you whether it's going down or up from there. They have to tell you. The question has to give you an indication. So if you're going up, just make sure that you find 5 consecutive points to get your regression, or else it will not work. Okay, it has to be within one cycle. Let's keep going. Sketch the graph of the sinusoid representing the height above water. Show 2 revolutions of the wheel. Okay, I want to tell you something about the graph here that I looked in my notes for future generations that come through here, and you're one of them. When you graph, it's not terribly important that you get the point laser precision exactly where it's supposed to be. As long as it's close, it's to our discretion. So if you're way off with your points, you're going to lose marks for that. But if you're close, you're okay. So what does that mean? This would be time in seconds. This would be height. Is it feet? Yeah, it's in feet. So that's how you start. It should be prettier than this, but I'm just going to say, I'm going to go to the, this is, let's say this is 1, 2 here, negative 2. I'm going to make a bit of a dashed line. And then I'm going to go up to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and this is my top line. Your scale is consistent. You're going with 1. My midline is at 1. I'm going to also sketch that. And in this case, we start at 0. So this isn't too bad. So I'm actually going to go 0. This is just me. Okay, my key is probably different. But if you go consistently like this, let's say you feel like going up by 1. It's going to be a bit of a problem right now because I can't fit 2 cycles in there. So I'm going to go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So you got to adapt, right? So 0, 4 is here. 1.25 is right about there. 2.5 is right about there. 3.75, you're back to the middle. And then it's 5 back to 4. So if you're close enough, we're in business. And then you would just continue this, right? You add 1.25 to this to get you 6.25, 7.5, 8.25, and then back to 10. So that's your 2. So here you just got to make sure you don't go past it into the negatives because you would lose a mark there. Just make sure you go into the positives only. So this actually continues indefinitely going to the right. So that would be a good cycle. We don't have our equation yet. I'm going to do that here for 2. Can I just give you, I think I'm just going to give you the equation here. Just make sure you show us sin reg at least, at the very least, and then just say y is equal to 3 sine 1.2566 x plus 1.5708 plus 1. Okay, that's what I would expect you to have there for a full mark. 3, for how long? Wait, no, that's a different question. Whew, I changed this. I'm going to read yours. Determine the time the point P remains above the surface of the water during 1 revolution. So we're going to let y2 equal 0, and then go second trace. 5 for intersection. You find your 2, right? So if you think of it this way, the wave keeps going. So this is going to be your 0 line. So from here to here, right, you're staying above. So we're going to figure out these 2. This one is 6.520, no, 3.4796. And the second one is 6.5204. But Mr. Dirksen, I found a different one. Like I looked up a wave way down the road, like way over there. It doesn't matter. Just find one of the waves, that's one cycle, determine the difference. Because in this case, we don't care about the exact time. We just want to know how long does it take for it to be above water. So you got to go delta t. You subtract those, and you get 3.04 seconds. 3.04 seconds. Question 4. If I asked you for the domain and range, what would you answer here? Write it down anyways, right? My domain would be what? I start at 0. Does it ever stop in this context? It doesn't seem to, right? It doesn't seem to, and it would be no problem for it to just continue spinning. So in this case, it's just infinity. I would write that down. My range, that one is fairly simple. You go as low as -2 and as high as 4 feet. So in terms of your y values, you're restricted between the two. So marks here. I will give you for question 3, I'll give you 2 marks. 1 mark is going to be associated with finding the points, and another mark you subtracting. Okay, and if your equation is wrong, this is all going to be different. I would still honor this. I'll give you 2 out of 2 here. And then 1 mark for your equation, and I would give you, I'm thinking 3 marks for coming up with the graph, because there's a significant amount of background information that you have to distill to come up with this. Okay, so 3 marks for that. If you have your -2, 4, like those 3 y values, I would give you 1 mark for sure. If your x values are in a correct place, I'll give you another mark. And then the third mark would be for general shape. Does this shape look like a sine wave? Okay. So we are 3, 4, 5, 6. So this whole AC is worth 6. If you're not sure, just give yourselves a mark today. You can even give yourself 1 mark for effort. It's about learning. Learning doesn't always mean right now getting the exact mark you're supposed to have. It's like, did I learn something? Did I catch something I missed in the past? Okay, so we're gonna